Are we ready for the spooky tier tray set? I'm only going to show you 2 pieces because that will encompass, I think, all of the techniques that I use to make this. And then if you have any specific questions or you want me to do a different piece step by step, then just let me know and I'm happy to do it. Firstly, I'm going to show you the baby wipe method. So when using a baby wipe, it gives you more of a stained look versus more of a definite painted look. So for instance, I'm going to be painting this piece. And so around here, it looks like it was stained. This is actually the same exact color that I used on this Asylum. This one I just happened to use a wedge, so it really puts the paint down. But on this, I use the baby wipe, so it doesn't hit so hard, I guess. So what you're going to do is, it's the charcoal looking color. You are going to take the baby wipe. If it took you a while to get to your craft, or if maybe it just dried out, you don't want this soaking wet. So spritz it with some water or run some water on your hands and then wipe it on the baby wipe. You just want it damp. So wrap it around your finger. Oh, I should say, first things first, the box that your kit came in, open it all the way up and lay that down because you need an area where you can be kind of making a mess. So dip the baby wipe in the paint, and I just do a little tiny bit, and then even though there's a little bit, wipe it off onto your box, and then just lightly go around your piece. Oops. Or add a whole bunch like I just did. You can always layer more, but the only way to take more off is to sand it. So when you're happy with the color, then set that aside. And now we're gonna do the full moon piece, and I'm gonna do the same technique. So the biggest thing is choose one direction and go that direction. So you can see how the grain of my wood goes this way. I like to stick with the grain. So for this piece, it's gonna hit the moon a little bit and I'm not gonna worry about it, but I don't wanna go all the way across the moon, if that makes sense. But I'm not gonna worry about hitting the edges, because then when you paint it white, it almost leaves like a shadowy effect, which I actually really liked on my first one. Okay, so when you're happy with that, set that to the side. Actually don't, because we're gonna keep on this piece. So I did that same technique with the banner. So this is that same charcoal color with the baby wipe. On here, this brown as well as the zombie hand brown. Obviously that's the brown color, but I did it with the baby wipe because I wanted it to look not so flat, I guess. I don't really know how else to say it. So you can either do the baby wipe or you can use a wedge if you don't like to use the wipe. It's just all in the look you're going for. But I wanted to let you know those were the pieces I used the wipe on. I'm sorry, I'm looking to make sure. Those were the only ones. Okay. Then let's do the moon. So that's what this brush is for. Technically you could have used a wedge, but because I wanted to have more of a clean circle, I thought this would be better. So the etching is just to give you a guideline. So what I did is I just dipped the white in my paint pot, started away from the edge, and then literally just very slowly traced it. And I did this twice. Do you like how my ear always sticks out of my hair? If you've watched my videos, you will see. I call it my elf ear. It's annoying. It's fine. Maybe I just have really thin hair and my hair is thinning. I'd rather say I have elf ears. That feels better than that. Who knows? Anyways, I'm not gonna make you watch me paint this whole moon because you get the point. Can you even see what I'm doing? So the first, maybe I did it 3 times. I'm pretty sure I only had to do it twice. So you have 2 options. I painted the whole thing with this brush, or you can always just outline the edge and then use a wedge to paint the middle. But once I had the outline, I just finished painting it like this. And then I know I did it at least twice, maybe 3 times to get it all the way covered. But I don't know. I like how that gray stain shows through. It makes it look more realistic and spooky. Okay. And then basically let it dry completely and repeat however many times. And then go rinse your brush so that you can use it for other projects. Okay, now I'm going to set that aside. And the last technique you will need to use is the wedge. So if you've done other kits, you already know how to use this because this is my main source of painting. But you dip, I might need to turn this down just a little bit. You dip into the paint, off on the side, dip off the excess, and then just very lightly dab up and down. Some people chose custom colors. Most of you just choose the same colors that I use, but some chose custom, and some of you did orange. So I'm curious to see if you just do it with the pumpkin head or if you're gonna do it if you're gonna incorporate it on other parts of the kit. So I'm excited to see. These paint pots usually keep your paint for quite a while. So I always say, hold it, or like keep them as long as you can, because then when you do multiple kits, you can use these for other ones. So then you just have more color options. And then that is done. There's nothing more I can say about that. Okay, now I'm gonna go to the next piece. I should have started the video off saying this. There are lots of ways to paint a tier tray kit. You can go, if you're going by the picture and it's easier for you to go piece by piece, then do that. How I like to do my tier trays is I take all the paint pots that I have and I set them in different areas of my table. So I would have my black paint pot over here. Every piece that I want to paint black, I put over by the black paint. Every piece that I want to paint green, I put over by the green paint, and so on. Because I like to do all the color at once, so I don't have to worry about my wedge or my brush or my baby wipe drying out. I just like to have it all done. If you like to go piece by piece, just grab a Ziploc bag and throw your wedges in there, or just quickly go and rinse them out. These will last forever if you rinse them out. You can keep reusing them. But anyways, there's no right or wrong, just whatever you prefer. So I'm looking at, since I've already painted this, I'm like, what colors did I use? Okay, so I wanted to make mine like really dark and not monochromatic, but like almost, just because it keeps that spooky feeling. So I did the background here, the charcoal color, and I did these little letters black, because I wanted it to be really just a little bit different. But if you took the charcoal and you have extra white, you can mix that and you could do this like a light gray if you'd rather the words stand out even more. So just remember, anything that you add white to is just gonna make that color lighter. So that's always an option. So since I already have my black out, let's do these letters. So that's where your tweezers come in handy. So you're going to dip the wedge in and dip or bounce off the excess. I just basically pinch the letter and hold it down. Otherwise, it's going to come up when you paint it because it's going to just hold on to the wet wedge. When you're using black paint, I should say when I use black paint, I don't really take my time as much as I probably should because my edges are already dark. So I don't worry about the black paint spilling over. But when I do a different color, especially if it's a lighter color, you better believe I am bouncing up and down and I am doing a very, very light coat. Like I would probably do it like that and then go over it another time so that I can keep my edges nice and clean. When it's black, I just go ahead and get that covered. Okay, move that to the side, and then we will do the headstone. I'm going to show you this just so that I can show you different gluing techniques. Oh, and I'm going to show you how I distressed mine. So I'm actually going to, because I don't have an extra paint pot of this already filled, I'm just going to use a little on the lid. You will use a new wedge, but I'm looking and I don't think I have a clean one around me. I'm just surrounded by, today's filming day, so I'm surrounded by pieces and it's a mess right now. So use a clean wedge for every color, but I'm just gonna use my dark one. Okay, so I want to keep around here as paint-free as possible. So I'm gonna go really, really light. These ones and this don't matter as much because that is just a guideline for when we glue down. So you're not gonna see that anyways. But the outline of the headstone you are going to see. So I'm just going to bounce off a lot of the extra and then very lightly as the only color being laid down is pure black. Do as I say, not as I do. My videos will never be professional, I'm sorry. But if you need more explanation or a full start to finish video, I'm always happy to do that. Most people though, I always do a vote and say who needs a video, or who will watch them, I guess I should say. Who needs to watch them? And nobody, which is totally fine. I just don't want to show every single step and cut more pieces if nobody needs the guidance. So if you do, I don't care if there's only one person, just let me know if I'm not being clear enough. I never ever want anyone to feel frustrated with this process. The whole point is these are easy enough for everyone. So please let me know if I'm confusing you. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'm pretty sure I glued it before. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Okay. Is this one clean? It is. So on the headstone, either on the YouTube video tutorial, I'm gonna see if I know how. I haven't done this before, or I'll send out a little I'll post it on my Facebook group. I'm going to put the colors that I used for each piece, just in case it's not clear from the picture. Then you can deviate however you want, but I'll let you know what I did. So for this one, I wanted it to look mossy. For this, I accented it with white because I wanted it to look almost like a patina in a way. So this is like white on the letters and on this. On this piece, I did green. The same green that you used on the grass. I didn't cut the grass out on this, but it's this piece. So how I did that is I dipped my wedge in, and then I did an overabundance of bouncing to get it off. And then I ever so lightly, I focused mostly on the edges because that's where it would mostly be. And then you can also take your baby wipe very, very, very lightly and go over it to help blend if there's any harsh wedge lines. But you want to do it so light because you don't want it to look super smooth, and you also don't want to wipe it off. So just use that so light. You can always add more. Then I just randomly, not everywhere, but randomly. Don't do it. They heard a car. Okay, so that's about what it looks like for now. And then I glued the letters down, and then I went back and did the same technique. So let me show you how I glue pieces. First, we will go with this one because I'm going to show you a bigger piece moving to the small piece. Again, I'm sorry I'm bouncing around. Normally I don't bounce around like this, but I'm trying to show you all the techniques. Okay, I used this earlier, so we'll see. So whereas this is a bigger piece, I'm going to hold it as I glue. That is easier for me. With the super glue, if it's your first time opening it, make sure you open it and your project pieces are off to the side, because if it explodes, then you're going to ruin your pieces. So I am going to just, a little goes a long ways. So I touch the edge on the wood to prevent it from like really flowing out. And I squeeze it so lightly. I mainly just use the excess that's on the tip of the opening. The tip of the tip, the end of the tip, and then just hold down for like 5 to 10 seconds. It dries really fast. And same thing, since this is a bigger piece, you don't have to do every single section of it because it's going to go fast. So I'm just going to go here, or it's going to hold tight, just a line here, and I'm just going to go like whoop, and that will be more than enough. Maybe a little on the pumpkin head. And your moon will look way better because you will have done more than one coat. So that's your first piece done. Now I'm going to show you how I go with the smaller pieces. So the first things first, I like to lay out my lettering to make sure I have all of them, is the first thing. But secondly, I want to make sure, like for instance with this D, I want to make sure I know what, because if it could look like this or it could go like this, and I want to make sure that I have it correct, that it's going to cover the etching. I don't want that to show up. And with a lot of my pieces, there's going to be like 2 E's. This one, this doesn't account for, but there'll be like 2 E's. Well, they might be different sizes. So this is just a good habit to have to make sure that everything is glued correctly. So for these little pieces, you're going to super glue your finger down if you try to hold it. So what I like to do is, I'm like making sure you can see it, I like to squirt out a little bit of super glue onto my box, dip it, dip off the excess, and then place it down on the etching. And you don't even really need to hold it down much because it will dry super fast. Oops, same thing, dip, and then I super glued my finger to it and then put it down. This one I might need to, I need to refill the super glue. The cardboard does absorb it more, so make sure, even if the cardboard looks wet, that you're getting super glue on your piece. I mean, worst case scenario, it falls off and then you just super glue it again, but you don't want to have to worry about that. Super glued. Another option, if you don't like super glue, I like it because it's fast, it's instant, it's individually packaged, so it's easy for me to send it. But if you prefer wood glue is a little bit more forgiving because you can reposition things. However, it does take a lot longer to dry. So if you own super wood glue, that's always an option as well. This is just very fast and easy, and I don't mind it. Okay, so once you have glued that, then I'm going to get my wedge that already had the green on it, and same technique, dip into the green, dip off lots and lots, and then just very lightly go over, like literally no rhyme or reason. Hit some of the letters. And if you do too much and you're like, oh my gosh, that's way too much, then just dab some more black on it and it's gonna look great. So there's no right or wrong, just however it looks good to you. And that is that. So I will list out the colors I use just in case you can't tell from the picture. But other than that, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me.